But the other thing that's funky, I think, too, is part of that proven commodity thing I was just kind of complaining about myself with, is the bands that are touring where you're making real money, it's still Motley Crue.
Yeah.
And they haven't had a current song that's been a huge hit for 25 years probably, or 20 years or whatever. You know, and it's very few Lady Gagas or even Carrie Underwoods, you know, that are out there really filling out the big arenas where, say, you can open for them and help grow you and help grow your music. And it's just, I don't know, it's just weird right now where I want to say, again, 20 years ago, those places were being filled with, relatively speaking, artists that were 10 to 15 years into their career. Well, now too many of these artists are into their careers 30 and 35 years and just feels for me, because I'm such a new music guy, feels like they're taking up space for my new music.
Yeah, and it's like the music industry in some ways for new artists, and I think even artists like me, it's like speed dating. You know, I only have 7 seconds to impress you with what I do or to try to evoke some response, and if it doesn't happen, you're on to the next thing. And so I think what's so hard is people don't get to live with artists to make memories. I mean, why is Motley Crue still touring 20 years later? Is because when Motley Crue was there, sure, they had a lot of bands to compete with, but you got to sit and live with that music, and so it becomes nostalgic because you listen to it long enough for it to become nostalgic. The problem with music nowadays is nobody has music that's nostalgic because you don't ever listen to it long enough. You don't listen to a whole record long enough. You don't listen to an artist long enough. You're already on to the next song, so you can't create memories with a song because you're already off to the next one. And so you think of the trajectory where music is going, it's like, what is this going to look like in 10 years, 20 years? You know, like I think about this all the time, and this is a really weird way to put this, but I've thought of it this way. You know, you think of the George Harrison benefit. You know, these people, or let's just do the Beatles like we did. People are getting up saluting, and it's a lot of their contemporaries or people who are right after them, whatever. You know, to me, John Mayer is one of the sort of the dinosaurs of what I do in the singer-songwriter world, in that he's a real talent that I think will be here for a while. Now, what will his sales numbers be and his tours be? Who knows? But I don't think anybody will argue his skill set and what his ability is. So John, to me, is kind of the last set. Who's going to play at that benefit for John when they honor him into the Hall of Fame? Because you know what? It ain't going to be... you know, some guy that had 2 singles and lost his deal.
Right.
But that's all our industry, that's all we consist of.
Right.
Who are the career artists that are going to celebrate his career? It's unless it's Bruce Springsteen in like a wheelchair.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying? Like we don't sustain a career artist anymore in our industry. I mean, I think country does, which I love, but that's kind of it. There's no infrastructure in the rest of music to do that. And so it breaks my heart because what used to be about the community of musicians prospering together, creating together, touring together, it's winnowed down to like each genre has their Mount Rushmores, the 4 to 10 that represent it, and that is it. Right. And the rest of us pop our head above the water for a minute to get noticed, then we disappear again. And so it's just kind of like it makes me sad because I'm like, man, what is that going to look like in the future? You know, like what does the John Mayer sort of like benefit show? Who's up there playing? Like maybe Rob Thomas, maybe Jason Mraz. But I mean, man, I don't know. Who else? You know, I don't know. And I'm sure there are some, but it's like, it ain't the days of when you're like telling people, man, we're already booked. We got 20 people, 30 people performing tonight because they all were involved in this career and they all did this together. I mean, it's like, you know, if they may have to call me from the car mechanic gig I have if they, you know what I mean? Like, who knows what I'm going to be doing?
Sure.
Who knows what John's going to be doing? So it's like, you know, that stuff.
Well, your car mechanic gig is going to be sitting inside of a room with a computer anyway to fix whatever vehicles we're driving.
Yeah.